Welcome to the G Spot.
Five, four, three, two, one.
Hello everybody and welcome to Dynamic GT League's G-Spot, where me and Ray, who's with us, coughing his arsehole out.
Hello.
We get to look at strange, weird and wonderful things that happen in the Dynamic GT League. Also, if things have been reported, we can also have a look at them here just to clarify to people why penalties may or may not have been given. Also, if somebody wants a clarification rather than to put in a report, we can have a look at it on here once the admins or stewards have had a look at it. So it's been a few weeks since we've done a G-Spot. So I think, Ray, we probably just really need to
Speak for yourself.
Well, okay, it's been years for me, but considering that you didn't even get me Daddy Fox joke on the race video, then I don't think you'll be getting it either. Excuse me. Okay, so should we just crack on with this, Ray?
Yep.
Okay.
Let's go.
So, G1. I put a curse upon you! I put a curse upon you! Now, we're not going to go straight into the footage of this, or of most of the ones on this G-Spot, because I'm going to give a little bit of a description. For those that do not know, there is a curse that shall not be spoken. It predates Dynamic GT League, and many will not believe it is true. But the fact of the matter is, it's real. It has an effect, and it acts. It happens quickly. And that curse is banned from Dynamic GT League races. And the fun races, or practice, it's alright. But in the league races, it is banned. And proof of this is from when Twilight once said it to me, a cunt, on the last lap of a race, in the penultimate corner, when I was leading, and he said the curse words of, "You're doing really well," and then literally 3 seconds later, I'm off in the gravel, lose the lead of the race, end up crashing Steve F1 off, still won the race, I think, but actually ended up with penalties. So yeah, that's the curse, to say to someone that you're doing really well. It is banned from Dynamic GT League, isn't it, Ray?
Yes.
Yes. And there have been many people that don't believe that it's true, but it really is. It really is true. It works. Obviously, it only works if the people can hear you. So I decided in the race we did at Alsace to see if a variation or saying something else might have a similar effect, and that's what we're going to have a look at now, and then we'll get Ray's opinion on it. Now, I will say, folks, we're not going to talk over this because it has the original audio on it from my live stream. So if you're ready, Ray,
Yep.
I'll give us a countdown to watching the footage in 3, 2, 1, let's go. I just want to say SGP's not put a foot wrong here.
Cheers, Gary.
I didn't say the curse.
I don't know what I was doing, but...
You straightening Rich up, I gave him a nudge, and then you gave me straightened him up.
So, I'm not going to come past you. Okay, so there we go. Now, Ray, what do you make of that?
You've been a naughty boy.
I didn't say the curse words.
But you said an alternative.
So
And you see him fuck up in the last two corners, chicane thing.
Yep. I mean, that's the thing. it wasn't the curse. It was.
A variation.
I was giving a positive message. I was saying he hadn't put a foot wrong.
Aye.
And it
You're
literally.
doing what's it? Reverse psychology.
Yeah. Now, admittedly, yes, it did result in SGP hitting the barrier, going off and hitting the barrier. Now, what I didn't show on that footage is, and I did it, otherwise we would have been sat here for another minute. A few corners later, I did actually lift off, slow down, and recreate the gap to SGP that was there before he hit the wall. So, although yes, I kind of used a curse on him, I also did not gain an advantage from it, other than psychologically. Now, I mean, I could lie and say I did it on a simply scientific purposes, but to be honest, at the time I wasn't really thinking. I just thought it was funny. I didn't say the curse. I said something else, but it would appear that it still carries the effect of the curse, which means, Ray, what do we have to do?
You cannot say any variations of the curse.
Exactly, in a league race. So although I was a naughty boy, I didn't gain an advantage from it, and we all learn a lesson from it now. I was tempted to go and get the original video clip of when Twilight told me I was doing really well, but I didn't want to get that to then show me smashing Steve F1 off accidentally. But yeah, so don't use the curse, guys, or a variation of it. Which in a moment, on this next one, actually leads us into this next one, which is a kind of a DGT tradition, but many won't know about it. So Ray, if you get yourself ready to the footage, but I'm just going to do the introduction of the next G, so G2, the DGT pit welcome gone wrong. So in DGT League, it is against the rules to intentionally put somebody in the pits. Excuse me. Now, admittedly, if somebody is sort of by the pit entry, technically off track, and you're next to them and they want to return to the track, then you don't necessarily have to move. But that's a whole different situation. What I'm talking about here is, in DGT League, you cannot intentionally put somebody in the pits. However, in our, not practice races, but in our random races, it's okay. It's funny to do. Right? You don't overtake somebody on the pit entry side. There's a chance they might put you in the pits. Now, I mean, I know that. You know that, don't you, Ray?
Yep.
Yep. Most of our guys know that. Bob might not know it yet. I don't think he is. See, I put it as DGT pit welcome gone wrong. And that's because you're not really part of the DGT League until SGP stuffed you in the pits in a random race, right? That's where you get your DGT pit welcome. But sometimes people have momentary lapses of concentration, perhaps. So I want to show here something that happened in an open lobby with the DGT guys, where surprisingly SRI's leading the race. But we'll have a look at this footage, shall we, Ray? So I'll give us a quick countdown in 3, 2, 1, let's go. So we're on board with me, and I'm behind a guy called Benji. Benji gets a bad run out of the corner. I go up, he's inside here, and Hay's next to him. And it's at this point Hay thinks, I'm going to put Demon R in the pits. But he's not putting me in the pits. He's put Benji in the pits. Benji isn't a league driver. Oh, by the way, I did pit manoeuvre Hay there as revenge for Benji. So another quick look at this from Benji's point of view. So Hay genuinely thinks it's me next to him, doesn't know Benji's there, and stuffs Benji into the pit wall. Benji, as I said, isn't a league driver, right? Listen to this. Now, the sound you hear when somebody hits the pit wall head on at like 140 mile an hour is a sound you can't really replicate, and it's funny as fuck. However, when that was happening, and you might remember this, right? Hay was turning into me, because I was there, he was turning into me trying to put me in the pits. But Benji was the one right in front of me, and Hay didn't realise he was there. He thought I was Benji. So Hay's turning across, and I'm like, hey, it's not me. And Hay's ignoring me, thinking, yeah, it is, you cunt. Stuffs me in the pits to then find out it's not in the pits. So when I've pit manoeuvred Hay down the straight, he's wondering what's going on. And I'm like, no, mate, you didn't put me in the pits. You put the other guy in the pits. Benji, he then rage quits. Right? Hay's he's typing a message. Sorry, Benji. Benji's probably thinking, you fucking dick. But Benji doesn't know the DGT welcome. And Benji doesn't know that Hay isn't just being a knobhead. He's just trying to do that DGT thing of stuffing me in the pits. However,
You got the wrong person. Yes, we do not condone any of that driving within Dynamic GT League.
Yeah, exactly. Unless it's a dirty championship. But I mean, the other thing as well. I mean, one thing I will say is, when we do our random open lobbies, the DGT guys are still representing the DGT guys. So I mean, sometimes we're going to get crashed into, and it's annoying. And we would say don't retaliate. Now, I mean, had Hay done it to
I
one
don't
of us,
think he was retaliating.
No, that's true. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was hilarious. I
Sorry, Benji.
I genuinely wish I'd live streamed that at the time. I wanted the original footage, but I don't have any. If I'd have thought about it at the time, I'd have saved the video clip with the audio on it, but I was laughing too much. It was so fucking funny. It was just Hayes surprised. I was like, "Wait, I put you in the pits." No, you didn't, mate. No, you didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Benji, Dynamic GT League apologises on behalf of Hay.
Yes, yeah. We apologise to everybody else for Hay as well. Okay, should we move on to the next one, Raymond?
Yeah.
Okay, so I shall do the little intro bit, and then we'll get ready. So, G3 Race 5 clarification. Okay, Ray. So this is a message that has been sent to the DGT League. Would you like to read said message?
Oh, damn.
You got to do it with a French accent, though.
I thought he was Italian or Brazilian.
Well, yeah, but he's come from France now, hasn't he? So, if you can do a Brazilian accent, go for it.
I don't know.
Portuguese.
Sentence. Thing. Okay, so question for the stewards. Recent penalty at Monza where a driver was rear-ended off track, losing many positions, and the offending driver could not wait because they had spun themselves. Would this incident at turn 2 be worthy of a penalty for the same reasons? Je ne sais quoi.
No. Next. No, joking. Okay, so yeah, this is a clarification that has been requested. So it was sent in by Steve F1, and it involves Art Power. I think we saw during the race this collision. I can't remember. So in a moment we'll have a look at the footage, but I want to go through a couple of. Actually, should we just look at the footage first? Or no, because it's got footage from this race and Monza. Okay, we'll try and sort of say this as simply as possible. In clarification to Steve F1's message, reference a similar penalty, a similar situation at Monza, where a driver got a penalty because he wasn't in a position to be able to wait or give positions back to a driver. This incident does not come under that same bracket of situation. It's a very different situation. So any decision that could possibly be made on this incident is not because a driver not being able to wait or give positions back. That being said, this incident, there is a possibility that a penalty could have been given we'll get onto that after we've looked at the footage. So what I want to do with this footage is try and explain why it is different to Monza. Because we said many times, haven't we, Ray, that there's no two incidents are the same.
Yeah.
And this is a situation where a driver perhaps thought an outcome could be of a similar circumstance. So the way we'll kind of look at it is, in this incident, Art Powell has had the opportunity to drive on and has chosen not to drive on. The situation with Gary at Monza is that Gary drove on as soon as was possible and was not in a situation to wait and give positions back. So Gary was already on the move, twilight was already down the road, there was nothing Gary could do, he had no opportunity of waiting or giving the position back. Art Powell on this occasion potentially had the opportunity to go but chose not to. So it's a very different situation. However, there is the possibility that Art Powell could have got a penalty for this. So what we'll do is we'll have a look at the footage now. So we'll do a quick countdown, then we'll go into the possible penalty side of it afterwards. So in 3, 2, 1, let's go. So Steve F1 chasing Conrad down the main straight, has a look at the inside. This is where Conrad goes wide, hits the wall, which I think is a little bit of a factor here. Steve F1 slowed down for the corner, and Art Powell comes in and smashes it.
Like a wrecking ball.
We see Steve F1 driving off, Art Powell stationary. So we'll have a look at it from Steve F1's sort of trail view here. Again, I mean, there's nothing happening between Steve and Conrad as to why Conrad ends up in the wall, but I do think Conrad having it crash has a factor. Steve F1 didn't do anything wrong. He's got the car slowed down, turning in comes Art Powell way too fast. Now, Art Powell has messed up here. He knew it at the time. He apologised at the time. So we see Art Powell here. I personally think that Art Powell may be distracted by Conrad crashing, but even if he is or isn't, Art Powell brakes way too late. Like, way too late. Realises it. He knows he's fucked up. But this is where he has the opportunity to drive on. He could drive on here, but he's not. He's fully on the brakes. He's waiting. Now he's driving on. So, although not a lot of time is passing there, he doesn't drive on. Gary at Monza, up the inside, tags Twilight. As soon as Gary's car is stationary, he's on the move. All right? And Twilight's already down the road. So that's where at Monza, Gary has no opportunity to wait, because even though he's going straight away, Twilight's already down the road, but Gary has knocked Twilight off the road, cost Twilight positions, and that's why Gary got a penalty. So I'm clipping it on here because you'll see that literally as soon as Gary's car has stopped rolling, although being in slow motion can be deceptive, he is on the power as soon as he can be. Now. Not now, now. Not now, now, no, not now, now. But his car's in motion. He's not on the brakes. His car's in motion. He's also got a car coming here. Oh, naughty boy. But yeah, so trying to show there that we'll see it from Twilight's view as well. Do I go back? I've edited this bit badly by the looks of it. Yeah, there we go. Jumping around a few cars. Are we going to go back some more? I don't know. Can you tell I was half asleep when I was doing that video clip?
Fuck, it stopped.
Yeah. But yeah, so although the differences are minor, it's enough of a difference that it doesn't come under the same category. Art Powell had the opportunity to go, as we saw, was on the brakes, wasn't going anywhere. Some may say he was just waiting for the other drivers. Some may say, well, Steve F1 drove off, so Art Powell could have drove off. I think it could potentially be considered that Art Powell, well, he's had the opportunity to go and has chosen not to, and that's where it is different for me. Whereas Gary, he had the opportunity to go or not go. Gary went, and even though he went, he still had no opportunity to wait or repay Twilight. So in clarification, they're two very separate incidents and they can't be compared in that way. As for potential penalty, though, Ray, could he have got a penalty? Now, obviously, the admin's structure, we've talked about this already, but could he have potentially got a penalty?
Yeah, he could have. It was a big mess up, or what do you want to call it?
He
try
fucked
to
up.
be, I'm trying to be PG-3, you know.
The thing is, Art Pal fucked up, but he knows he fucked up.
Yeah, so it could have been a penalty, and then in the rule books it would have been set at a certain state penalty, but because he knew he fucked up, he apologised and whatnot, then it could have been lessened as well. Is that the word I was?
Yeah,
lessened?
Reduced. Well,
Reduced.
I mean, to sort of touch on what Ray was saying there. As we've already mentioned, this incident is not the same as the one at Monza. It's not. No two incidents are the same.
Never.
Yeah, and one of the things we say in DGT League is if you crash someone off, you unfairly overtake someone, you wait for them. You let them have the positions, but you wait for them. Sometimes, though, there are extenuating circumstances. There are additional circumstances. So, as it was discussed, and this is where wording can be quite important. As an example, I'll use the same one I used with the admins and we talked about. If I'm following somebody and I hit them up the rear or nudge them up the rear, knock them off the track, but I slow down, I don't pass them, I slow down, I wait for them, and they continue on and we both lose places, then that shouldn't be a penalty. However, there could be extenuating circumstances where if it is seen that I fucked up badly and waited, I could still receive a penalty because the fuck up was enough that it's like, yeah, that's a bit naughty, mate. Yes, we know you've messed up. Yes, we know you're apologetic, but yeah, that's not good. And in this situation, that's what kind of this situation is with Art Pal, where it's possible he's done the right things in waiting, whether he was waiting for cars to come back past or he was waiting for Steve F1. Art Pal will be able to let us know. But he had the opportunity to go and didn't. He was apologetic at the time of the crash, just before it happened, during and just after. And he did everything we would expect a driver to do in that situation. In that he's not gained and he's been apologetic. But it is enough of a fuck up that it could have got a penalty. And the reason it's enough of a fuck up is one of them being the braking point for that corner is 150 metres, and it looked like he was on the brakes at about 100.
It's not 150 metres, it's more than 100.
Is it? I can't remember. I had my eyes closed going into that corner. But yeah, I mean, even if it isn't, well, I mean, I think is people go through the previous corner at different speeds, but either way, if you're braking anywhere beyond 150 metres for that corner, you're braking late. And Art Pal was closer to the 100 than the 150. It brake way too late. He fucked up. Right? I mean,
Says the man that can't brake as late as everybody else.
Yeah, well, yeah, he did say that. In fact, I can't brake as late as you. Yeah, you can. You just crash. But no, I mean, we will say. I know Art Pal said this wasn't him. Bob, if you're watching this, you may not be aware. Do not, and for anybody else, do not rely on what you see another car's brake lights doing. They are lying to you. If you try and brake at the same point as a car ahead's brake lights come on, you will not make corners because there's a bit of a glitch, there's a delay in them. So if I brake at 100 metres, the lights won't come on until 90 metres. You're fucked, right? So bear that in mind. Now, Art Pal said that wasn't a factor. I mean, do you think Ray may have been put off by Conrad crashing and he's kind of like been looking at Conrad and then gone, oh shit?
Yeah, it could have been because the way Conrad bounces off the wall and it puts him across his track, yes, he's good at for a certain time period of that, it could have been like Art Pal could have been more concentrating on Conrad and.
It was concentrated more on Conrad than the corner.
Yeah. And then, so he's watching where Connor's going. Well, he wasn't watching when the corner was coming up, but he was watching where, trying to anticipate where Connor was going. But I think that kind of affected his braking. And as you can see, I think he pulls a handbrake last minute as well to try.
It looks like he's trying to take some kind of evasive, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So that's I think he's realised he's fucked up before the contact. I mean, it's a bit like when you fuck up and you shit. You know it's happening. There's nothing you can do. I mean, we touched on it in the race footage as well, though. That it's easy to make these kind of mistakes in these cars because you only have to go a few meters too late and you're screwed. But if you go many meters too late, yeah, it's danger. But I mean, I know in one of the practice sessions, it might have been actually when we did a few laps after the race at Spa, and I was battling with two cars that were in front of me, and there was a bit of a gap, and I was looking at going in between them. I couldn't really see beyond them. They turned left for a corner, and I went straight on because I couldn't see the corner. Now, I mean, that's the kind of mistake that I would not expect to make. But in these cars, it can happen. It's deceptive. It's not a race car. It's different.
Or you got, was it
Eau Rouge? Eau Rouge, yeah.
Flat out.
Yep, yeah. It'll be interesting. That's a good point, actually. You know, on the race video, we didn't speak about what track was next.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Next week.
A bit later. But yeah, it is fine. But we've also said, I mean, we've all done it before in many different cars as well, where you're following someone, you pull out from behind them, not to overtake them, but you pull out to see where the braking point is.
You there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm talking.
Oh, they didn't pick up for me, sorry.
All right. So I was saying that we've all had it where we've been following someone, and you pull out to see where the braking point is, not to overtake, but to see where the braking point is. And when you've pulled out, you realise you've already passed.
You're at the corner.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it can happen. So I could understand someone may feel a bit hard done by if they got a penalty in this situation, but at the same time, I think it's enough of a fuck up that you could go, I did make a mess of that one. It's not like he's braked. It's not like they were side by side going into the corner and then he's braked. Like it is a different scenario. You can tell that something's happened there that's made him, for whatever reason, brake way too late. Anything else we need to touch on that one?
Yep.
Okay, right. We'll move on to the next one. I think for this next one, Ray. Excuse me. I can't remember what it is, other than...
Garification.
Yeah, right, so G4, garification. So, before we get into the footage of this one, a couple of things that I want to mention. This is nothing sort of bashing Gary or anything like that, apart from the fact that he nearly ended up in the pits twice last week. We did see on last week's race footage, excuse me, Gary nearly ended up in the pits a couple of times, but I wanted to have a bit more of a sort of a look into it because you might not remember, Ray, there was one of them where we said, was it Jason nudging Gary's rear end, or was it Gary moving across in front of Jason?
I think Jason moved. Oh, was it Gary? I can't remember.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have a look at them because we're not playing the footage yet, unless you.
Oh, we're not. Sorry.
No. See, now, as soon as I finished saying G4 Garification, I did say we're not going to be watching the footage yet because I think he's pressed play, and he had. So when you're ready, we'll go back and have a look.
I'm back.
Right, so
I'm back. Let's start.
Okay, so let's take a look at this. I did 3, 2, 1, let's go. So we're looking at Formula Gary in Twilight, heading into the final couple of corners here. Twilight goes a bit deep, which is Gary. I actually think on this one that Twilight is trying to slow down a bit here to sort of let Gary through. Gary's on the tight line, bit too much throttle, around he goes, manages to not hit the wall. So yeah, now this one, sorry, this is the same one. That
Jesus.
there, I will admit, that there I think was a little bit naughty by SGP. I don't think he realised Gary was there. And that then kind of made it a bit messy between Gary and Twilight. But I do think that Twilight is trying to sort of allow Gary through here, but there's a bit of like nudgy, winky. Gary gets too much on the power, nearly ends up in the pits. But yeah, out of all of that though, yeah, SGP I think was a little bit naughty there. Perhaps didn't know it. Now this is a different one. So this is the one later on. Gary, a little bit of a nudge on Jimmy there and into Jason. Everyone's struggling a bit now. And then this is the footage that we saw. So it's like, yeah, around she goes, head first into the wall. So that's what we saw on commentary. So let's have a look at it from the other view, shall we? So this way, tiniest nudge between Gary and Jimmy. Jimmy's a bit out of control. It's unfortunate there is Jimmy, because he's come back on the track, hit the brakes, and it's right in front of Gary. Not a lot Gary can do. But I do think here, I think it's kind of 6 of one and half a dozen of another, where Jason is coming across, but also Gary is sort of moving over to the right a bit. So see Jason getting nudged up the rear a bit. You may not realise where that had come from. Nothing wrong with everything here. But yeah, I do think that Gary's just turning right a bit, while Jason is also sort of moving left a bit. So personally, I think with that one, they kind of met in the middle. Yeah, Gary ended up nearly in the pits. Your thoughts, Ray?
Yeah, I think that's just like at the, some corners you've got two lines that meet at a certain point, and I think it was just what that was. I think Gary was trying to get over to the right hand side a wee bit more. Didn't realise Jason was there, and Jason was coming off his steering angle for the straight and just spun Gary. I don't think you could put blame on either.
Yeah, I mean, would I expect Jason to wait in that situation? I don't know. I think I'd probably have to look into it more, but personally I just think it's funny that Gary nearly ended up in the pits twice after we were saying you shouldn't be putting people in the pits in a league race. So, should we move on to the next one? Right, Ray.
Yes.
I'm going to explain the title of this one, then we'll have a little chat, and then we'll watch the video footage, yeah?
Yeah, so press play.
Yeah. Okay, so G5, Tiny Touches. Okay, so the footage we're going to see in a moment is from this week's race, from Saint Croix. But the reason I've called it Tiny Touches is because this is a good example of the littlest of contact having a big effect. Excuse me. But also I want to mention something that Gary had said in our drivers chat, which was something along the lines of, he felt that there was quite a few occasions where people were sort of bumping each other off track in this one. Didn't know if it was the nature of the circuit or because of the barriers. Because if you end up being nudged a little wide, you're into a wall. So there's a lot of factors.
I think his words were Apple had a few instances too. Previous race, not from me on G-Spot, this race I haven't had time to watch back, but there were a few where people, including myself, was hit and the other driver didn't wait.
Yeah.
Maybe awareness with the last track having closed barriers. It only takes a small tap to put you wide or sideways, or in my case, off track.
Yeah, exactly. So, Gary's Tiny Touches. Yeah, so one of the reasons why I wanted to stop and chat before we look at this one is because this is a track, or Saint Croix is a track that I know, like, say if we were in a Group 1 race car, there's probably going to be less contact, less incidents because of how that car handles. The Ford GT around Saint Croix, I know, comes at much bigger risk because the car's a little bit more slippery and the track is a lot more technical. It's a lot harder to drive in the Ford GT. than in an LMP1. So I'm aware that we'll see cars getting sideways and we'll see people going deep into corners, and people are going to make the tiniest of errors that could have bigger effects. But the reason I mention that is because I also think that a lot of what may have happened in this race, people might not have even known happened. Because if you're going through a corner side by side and your tail gets out a little bit and just nudges someone, chances are you'd know nothing about it. It's a lot different to completely missing your braking point and nailing someone at 90 mile an hour into turn 2.
He still doesn't know anything about it.
Yeah. But, excuse me. So I come into this race thinking, okay, there could be contact that people may not be aware of. And there was occasions, I think there was one where Gary, someone, I think it was you actually, Ray, said to Gary, he's like, fucking hell, Gary, you just stuffed our paddle in the wall. He's like, did I? He's like, yeah. He's like, did I? I didn't. Have I? Did I? Should I wait? Now, that's always a tricky situation, because that's usually where Twilight would say, yeah, you need to wait for so-and-so who's at the back, because he's a fucking wind-up working. But in that situation, that would be where Art Pal could say, yeah, I think you might need to wait on that one. Now, admittedly, Art Pal said, I don't know. SRI had the better view.
I don't think I said anything.
Well, you can't fucking see anyway. But again, I mean, that's one of those where, okay, what do you do? What do you do? It's a tricky one. You either carry on and say, I'll have a look at it afterwards, or you can do what Gary did, which was, he says, well, you know, I'll wait anyway. I didn't know out about it. If it was my fault, no problem. Okay, so Gary waited. Now, we'll get onto this footage in a second, because this is an interesting one for me, where a tiny touch has a massive effect. Now, what I do want to say, I don't know what you were thinking at the time of this one, Ray, considering you don't actually know what's coming up at the moment, but when this was about to happen, I knew this was going to happen, because in my mind, a voice said, he's sharing the slipstream, but if he moves across too many times, he won't realise we're alongside him. And that's exactly what happens. Somebody is moving across the track, trying to sort of share a slipstream, and then there ends up being the tiniest little bit of an overlap as they try to move back across. And we're about to see what happens. So if you get ready to press play, Ray.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, let's go. So
5 tiny touches.
we're not on that bit. So Twilight is just ahead here of SRI and myself, and you see he's moving across, sharing the slipstream, but there's the overlap, there's the bit of contact, now it's triple contact, now SRI spinning around, now Demon R spinning around even more. We saw it on the race footage, and we see Twilight driving on it. I've actually gone for a rear looking back here, because some would say that Twilight's weaving here. I mean, what he's doing is okay until he gets to that last point where there's that tiny bit of an overlap, but then that tiny contact just has such a massive effect, and that's like the butterfly effect. A butterfly flaps its wing, end up in a tsunami in another part of the country. Now, as we're on board with me and Twilight moves over to the left, I'm thinking, oh, okay, and he comes back right, I'm thinking, you want to be careful doing that. Oh, a little bit of contact, and it's, oh, we're all right. Oh, no, oh, shit. Round, round, baby, round, round. And then Ray twats me as well. And then from sort of trail cam from Ray's view, I mean, there was not a lot any of us could really do in this situation because of the speeds we're doing. I mean, we're doing 140 now already, and there's nowhere we can go. Wobble, 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 wobble. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, Ray, you did well to end up facing the right direction there. But, yeah, Twilight, you bastard.
That's funny.
Yeah. Now, what I will say is, I didn't show it there because, again, it would have taken another 2 minutes. Twilight did wait for us. I don't think he realised exactly what had happened, but he did wait for us. And what I would say is, personally, I think it was the right decision that he waited for us. Your thoughts, Ray?
That was the right decision.
Yeah, because if
To
you
wait.
fucking hadn't done, send it to paid. But no, I mean, I can't fault what he was doing. He was just trying to share split the slipstream, so no one really gained on him.
I thought he was actually trying to,
Trying to what?
and then
You
because
you cut out then.
like I was in, he tried to follow the slipstream ahead of him.
God. Oh yeah. I did think that as
Because,
well. 'Cause Art Pal moved across about 5
Yeah.
kilometers ahead. Yeah.
The whole pack moved to the left-hand side when he started. Then he started moving left and met you, and then you met me, and then we had a little dance.
Yeah. And as is the way,
Yes.
I did things more than you. I spun 4 times, you spun 2.
Better car control, what can I say?
Get up! I bet you let go of the fucking wheel. But this
Nah,
well, funnily enough, right, when I did watch it,
no,
mean-
because my camera fell off.
I did it fall off you.
Fell off when that happened because I was trying to battle with the view as well.
You know.
With the force feedback.
Well, I mean, I was going to mention about, 'cause people may, feel free to go back and have a look at it, and actually have a look at the red dot and the steering inputs that me and Ray do. It's 2 very different steering inputs for a similar situation, but we're actually in very different situations. We have different wheels. So what my wheel will do when I'm about to spin compared to what Ray's wheel will do are 2 very, very different things. Ray's wheel is a direct drive. It's much more powerful. And when that starts going, I would say you're more likely to, you can feel it more and you might have to fight it a bit more. But when it goes,
Yeah.
you may have to let go of it. Whereas with mine, the steering inputs I do on mine as I'm spinning, I wouldn't be able to do on Ray's wheel. It'd break my thumbs. Because what I do, whereas before Ray's spinning, obviously there's a bit of a knock on the wall, the car's wobbling, the steering wheel's wobbling. That's what Ray's trying to control. And sometimes the best thing to do is to just try and hold it straight, rather than sort of turn into it, but it depends on what strength you've got. Excuse me. Now, what Ray tried to do, absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's resulted in a car spinning, but that's not his fault. Compare that to the steering inputs I use, and you'll see that as mine starts going around, I steer then in one direction and hold that direction until I'm facing the right direction again. And people may wonder why. Well, one, because I can. If I had Ray's wheel, though, it would break my thumbs, because while the car's spinning around, the power of the wheel itself would be spinning around. You wouldn't be able to stop it. Now, the reason I've held one direction on, and it is a specific direction, is I've got the wheels turned. So if I'm spinning round, like the nose is spinning round to the left and the rear is spinning round to the right, by having my front wheels fully locked over to the right, the front wheels are technically going with the direction of the front of the nose, if you know what I mean. So the car will continue to spin around. Like, if you were going to do a J-turn, right? You reverse up, you spin the wheel round, and as the front end's coming round, the front wheels are sort of leading the front end around, and then you straighten the wheel. So basically, that's exactly what I'm doing while the car's spinning. And even though I spin 2 or 3 times, I can hold on to that direction so that the car can continue to spin that way and eventually try and face the right direction. So there you go. An insight into bad driving.
Yeah, mine was. I had no choice.
Yeah, but that's the thing with the direct drive wheel. You don't. But at the same time, that's one of the good things about it. I know many people that have tried holding on to a direct drive wheel when they crash. It doesn't work.
But I still done less spins.
True. But this thing, you look at what even in F1 drivers, or in the lower categories, when they know they're going to crash, they don't hold onto the wheel. Alonso busted his wrist, didn't he, crashing in Australia because he held onto the wheel. But there you go. Right, anything else you want to touch on that one?
Nah, I thought it was pretty. looking back at it.
To be fair, I was laughing at the time it happened. I was fucking dying. It was proper funny. Okay, we'll move on to the next one, the last one. And I think for this one, Ray, we can just go straight into the footage.
Okay.
So, well, I'm going to still do the intro bit, but we don't have to pause. So,
Is it about me? It's got ball bags on.
oh yeah. So, gee whiz, it's in the ball bags. Now, at the start of the race this week, actually, I just want to mention, here is Art Pal's Movember logo. Sort of show it off that he's got Movember going on. Don't forget to support him in his efforts of growing some fluff above his top lip. Excuse me, I'm a bit windy today. But yeah, all for a good cause. Okay, start of the race, and Art Pal's ended up in the barrier. Wonder why? We didn't really see it at the.
I know why.
I wonder why. So Art Pal got a decent start up alongside Gary. Steve F1's there. The ball spot into the wall. Oh, no, I wonder. Oh, right, okay, let's have a look from the elf on a shelf. Yeah. Oh, look at that! Just rams him up the arse. Shocking, Raymond. Shocking. It's in the ball bags.
It had some. He had some brakes. Like, we're on a straight. Come on.
It is the responsibility of the car behind to not hit a car ahead of them.
Well, I did wait.
Yeah, what I will say is this did result in you not wiping everybody out. Turn 2. I mean, obviously, I joke in there about punting him. I mean, it's an unfortunate situation, that one. Art Pal,
I wasn't expecting them to brakes.
Yeah.
They are that hard at that time. Yeah. And, yep. I smashed his arse.
Yep, you smashed him. You sent him right at a left-hand corner. And
then I did that.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of those though.
Was my fault, but
yeah,
I wasn't expecting.
Well, that's the thing. Yes, Art Pal perhaps braked more than many would expect, but at the same time, you can't fault someone for being a bit cautious. Yes,
nobody else braked there. It was only him.
Yeah, you didn't brake, did you?
No, because nobody else braked either. It was just a car in front of me. He's like, you want to see my moustache?
Yep. But yeah, so I mean, it's unfortunate, but at the same time, it was Ray's fault, and Ray did the right thing waiting. But yeah, I mean, it is a bit tricky though sometimes, isn't it? I mean, when people, right? Okay, I mean, I'm joking about it a bit. Personally, I think it is hilarious. It's funny. But at the same time, okay, there is potentially a little bit of a seriousness to it. Now, somebody breaking, just being a little bit cautious like that, you can go, yeah, okay, it's caught Ray off guard, he's rammed him, it is technically Ray's fault, and Ray did the right thing waiting, but there is a big difference between that situation and somebody hitting the brakes on a straight, where, I mean, okay, so for example, turn 1, I was using a little bit of brakes, right? At the start, perhaps not, because it's a shorter run, but then Art Pal was coming from further back than me, but during the race, I was braking for turn 1. So for me, seeing someone brake for turn 1 isn't unusual. Now, if we were in a car that was easy, flat out through that kink, and then all of a sudden somebody happened to brake before it, that then is a different scenario. It's like, well, why are you braking for a corner that's flat out? But obviously in this Ford GT it's not. It'd be similar to, well, hang on, we're on a straight going flat out, well, there's nothing to slow down for, why have you hit the brakes? See, they're very different scenarios, and it is a big difference between someone being, okay, if you're in the pack of cars, Ray, as you'll know, I'm sure, if you're in the middle of the pack and you can't really go forward anywhere, and you've got cars behind, you can't go sideways, and you can't really accelerate, you may lift off or you may dab a bit of the brake. That's being cautious. And someone behind you may nudge you if you dab the brake in that situation. But if there's nobody else around you other than the car behind you, and you're on a straight, and you dab the brake for no apparent reason, that's a big no-no.
Yep, that's a big kick up the arse.
It's a big, what the fuck are you doing? There you go.
But I've all been cautious, I've all been caution, I was just got out. It's a way of the game.
Yep, that it is. Right, I think that's all of them. I think we're done.
Yep.
Yeah, unless you've got any questionable jokes you want to tell, I haven't got any left.
Nah, not. I know. Just. I never look.
I've got one for you. Kevin Magnus.
I don't have any. No, he's not.
He did have.
Yeah, he did have, but he's not.
Yeah. Right.
I think that's wrong.
What?
Qualifying, pole, and then losing it in the sprint race.
We see. Technically, he doesn't. He doesn't lose the title of having got pole position. See, he won't start on first for tomorrow's race. No.
Yeah.
Well, yesterday's race. That's confusing, isn't it? Recording this on a Saturday, tomorrow's race, but actually by the time people hear this, it's yesterday. Yeah. So, yes, it is a shame that he doesn't get to start at the front in the feature, in the main race. But last year, if you got pole position for the sprint, you weren't classified as having won pole position. The person who won the sprint was classified as having pole position. They changed that rule because the qualifying lap, pole position lap, is the person that puts the fastest lap in qualifying. So he technically is now a Formula One pole sitter. He just won't be sitting on pole for tomorrow's race. But it's a bit like with George Russell. Spoiler alert. He is now a Formula One winner. Well, you don't have to fucking fart about it, Jesus.
I didn't.
It sounded like I said that, and then you just went.
Nah, with my hand on the seat.
All right. So George Russell is now a Formula One winner, but is not a Formula One race winner. Is a Formula One sprint winner. He's still a Formula One winner, but he's not a Formula One race winner. He's a Formula One sprint winner, which is still a Formula One winner, but he's not a Formula One race winner. It's kind of it's right, but it's wrong, but also it's right. Should he celebrate it as a race win? Yeah, too fucking right. But anyway, right. And on that. What about Esteban Ocon, eh? What a knobhead. Looking dry.
I've never seen it.
Well, I've got a video clip here of it. So I'm going to go and watch it in a second, so I can share it with you. Right, I do believe it's time then to bring this to an end. The next G-Spot, we don't know when that'll be. Depends on if we can find it. The next race, though, will be from the Spa Grand Prix circuit, which, in these cars, I personally think turns Spa into a better racetrack. And I say that because I've raced Spa in hundreds of cars for years. I love it. I know how to drive it. But this car around that track, it's like having to learn a new track. I'm actually having to drive the car around the track rather than just go, to put it in here, turn it in there, flat out here, flat out there. You've got to drive it, and I like that. Yeah,
and full throttle Eau Rouge.
Yeah, full throttle through Eau Rouge and Blanchimont. Don't worry about going off track or reaching barriers you've never seen before. It's not like that'll happen, is it?
No.
Right. Ray, thank you very much for joining us on the G-Spot.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome.
Oh, you don't really have a choice because the other two don't want to do it.
Well, yeah, no, true. Well, they had the opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
All right.
Have a good
Ta-ta.
day. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you all again soon.